Hello everyone. In this video we will gonna talk about debugging and loops. First, let's check what is debugging. Debugging is checking your code while your script is running. Let's start to put a breakpoint in the third line or the second line. When you click your line number, for example in here 2, and when I click run, my script will be executed until the second line. If you see the workspace in here, the A is created and its value is 5, but B or C is not created yet. Why? Because my program paused in second line. And I can use a step button in here in the next of the run button. The run button is now a continue button. And if I click the step button, it will execute only one line. Now it executed the second line, but it waits on third line. Why? Because I clicked a step. It means it will execute one step. In workspace, B is created. And if I click step again, third line is executed and C is created in the workspace. If I click continue, my script will be executed until the next breakpoint. For example, if I put another breakpoint in the fifth line, and if I click run, it will pause to execute my script in second line. Why? There is a breakpoint there. And after that, if I click continue, it will run until the next breakpoint. And the next breakpoint is in 5, so in fifth line it will be paused. And I can progress by clicking step. For example, right now B fifth line is executed and B become 8. And after I click step, C will become 9. And as you see in here, the green arrow shows the bottom. That means the program will be finished. The script will be finished. If I click step again, it will finish to execute my script because all lines are finished. This is debugging. If you have a problem in your script, you can examine your problem. You can find your problem by debugging, by running your script one line by one line. Okay. Today we will use the breakpoints a lot, but not for debugging, to show how the loops working. Okay, let's lay everything in here and let's create an array. I created an array. Okay, let's say I don't know loops, and I don't know any other function in Matlab. So I want to reach sum of that array. I need to find the sum of that array. So what should I do? I need to write that sum is equal to 0, and then I can add the element of array one by one. For example, sum equal sum plus the array's first element. I can copy this. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 4, 5, 6, 7. And here, this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's run it. After the run, you can see in the workspace my sum is 67. And to see in the command window, I can write in here sum without a semicolon, then it will echo the sum. Okay, let's run it again. Yes, I have sum in here. And if you sum all of the elements, you will find 67. But think about that. If I have a millions of elements in my array, what will happen? I can't write an addition for each element. I cannot write a millions of times of the same code. In this situation, loops helps us. Loops help us. Loops are the main structures. One of the main structures, one of the most common structures in programming. They are helping to repeat some of code blocks. But how? In here, we write the same code 7 times just by changing the indices. Instead of this, we can use loops. Let's try. First, we can use a for loop. We have 2 loops in Matlab. First, I will use for loop. For I, this is gonna be my index, equal to how many element is in the array. Right now 7, but it can change, so I can write that start from 1 to length of array. Because the size of array can be changed. If I write length of array, it will work until the end of the array. So I need to add end. And right now I can add my code which I want to repeat, which is sum equals to sum plus array, but this time I will write an index here. I will write I as an index, and I will use semicolon to prevent the echo. Yeah. Right now I have a loop, and in this loop I have an index which named I, and this I will be starting from 1, and it will go until the end of array. So if I put a breakpoint here, okay, if I put a breakpoint here, let's put it in 5. Let's see what will happen. If I click run, the execution will be stopped on 5th line. And in this line, you can see that in our workspace, we don't have the variable I because it's not created yet. If I click step, it will go to the inside of 4. And you can see that I is created and its value is 1. And right now, the sum is equal to sum ARR and its ith index. What is I? I is 1. And that means the first index of ARR. And what is it? It's 5. Now, after I click step, sum will be 5. Right now, as you can see, sum become 5. And it's now here. Let's click step. What will happen? Now it will come here. But if you notice that I is 2 right now. Why? Because it's increased. Why? Because in here I said I give an array with a colon operator. It will start from 1. It will go to the end of array. Now I become 2. And if I click step, now the 7 will be added to sum. So sum becomes 12. This line is repeated until I becomes the last element of this colon operator. I become the last index of the array. Let's click step. If you look here, I is 7 now. Why I is 7? Because I start from 1 and goes until the end of the array. And the last index of array is 7. Then the working line left the for loop. And right now it will echo the sum, as you can see here. Did you see how we can use loops instead of recurring lines? In here I used a colon operator, and I don't need to use a colon operator, and I don't need to use an index. Why? Because for loop has an array in here. Instead of using index, I can give my array here. Then what is I gonna be? The I is gonna be the element of arrays. one by one. But how? Let's run it again. Right now, as you can see, I is still 7 from the previous previous execution. After I click step, the I will be 5, which is the first element of the array, because I write here array. Okay, let's click step, and as you can see in here, I become 5. Then let's click step again, sum become, oops, sorry, I didn't change here. I still use index. I need to delete here. Sorry, it's my bad. Not, I will use only I in here. Okay, let's stop and let's start from the beginning, and let's clear everything in the workspace, and also let's clear the command window. And if I click run again, now you can see sum is 0. After I click step, I is created and its value is 5. Why? Because the 5 is the first element of the array. After I click step, sum become 5, I is still 5, and after I click step again, I become 7. Why? Because I will be the second element of the array, and then it will be added to the sum. Then I will be the third element of the array. It will be added to the sum, and I will be the fourth element of the array. Now 4th, 5th, 6th till end of the array. Let's see it. Now right now I is 34, right, I is 6, and I is 7. Right now if you look, the running line right now is in 6th line. If I click step, it will go to 7th line. Right now I is the last element of the array. Right now the running line will not be 6. Why? Because I is at the last element of the array. Nothing left there. So the program counter will left a for loop right now. As you see, it's jumped to the 9th line, and then it will print out. As you can see, my program is finished. This is a for loop. In Matlab, there is another loop structure, which is while loop. And let's use the while loop instead of for. Okay. This time we need to use indexes again. Let's say my index is equal 0. Instead of using index, I will use I again. I equals 0. Even we can do it 1. We can start from 1. While I is less than length of my array. So then I can write here sum equals to sum plus array I, and we can finish the loop here. Let's put a breakpoint in the 7th line and let's click run. Right now I is 1. You can see in the workspace. If I click tab, I didn't change, and here is like an if statement. If this statement is true, it will execute here. It's totally same if statement, but it has a little bit difference. What is it? It will always run here until this condition broke. In here, that condition will not be broken. Why? Because I doesn't change. As you can see, it's always running. As you can see, the sum in here right now 90, 95, 100, 105, 110, 115, 120, 125. It's going like that. Why? Because I is 1 and the first element of array is always added to the sum, and this condition is not broken, is not gonna be broken. So this program are gonna work infinitely. So let's stop it, and we need to increase in here. We need to increase I in here. I equals I plus 1. This time the I will change. Right now I is 1 and the length of array is 7 and 1 is less than 7. That means this code block will be executed. Right now it will add to the sum. The first element is added to the sum, and then right now in this line I will be changed. I become true. Then it comes to 8 column. Why? Because I is 2 and still I is less than length, because 2 is less than 7. Let's continue. It will go through. Right now I is 4. It will add the 4th element of array and I become 5. It will add the 5th element, I become 6, and it will add the 6th element, I become 7. You need to look here. I become 7, and after this, when I click step, it will go to the sum. 12th line. Why? Because I is 7 right now, and it checks here I is less than length of array. What is I? I is 7. 7 is less than the length of array. The length of array is 7 too. 7 is not less than 7. This is why the program left the loop. So there's a mistake in here. We solved that mistake by debugging. And as you can see, our sum is 60. It should be 67. Okay, this is the last segment and it's written that sum is 60. There is a problem and we solved that problem. What should we do right now? We should do that. We need to change something in here. We can put +1 here because the length of array is 7. If we write here +1, it will be 8, and the 7 is less than 8. The last element of array will be added to the sum. Or there is a wiser way. We can add an equal operator in here. And right now 7 can be less than or equal to the 7. So that means last element of array will be added to the sum. Let's run it. Okay, let's finish it first. Okay, let's run it and let's continue. Right now, as you can see, sum becomes 7. And there is a difference between for loop and while loop. If you don't know when is your loop gonna end up, then you need to use a while loop. If you know your loop's ending point, you can use for or while. It doesn't matter. But if you don't know the ending point of your loop, you need to use while. But to use while, you need to use a conditional statement in here, like an if statement. For example, let's say we have a long array which random variables like that, and we wonder that how many elements of that array from the beginning reach 2000. Let's say 2000. And we wonder that a total of how many elements is become 2000 or greater than 2000. We don't know, but we don't know the elements. Okay, so right now what should we do? We can change the situation. We can change the condition here. We can say that work this command until, or work this command while sum is less than 2000. And this time this for loop will work until sum is greater than or equal to 2000. If sum is less than 2000, the code block of while loop will be executed. And at the end of the while loop, we can see that how many elements reach to 2000. Okay, I start from 1. Let's change it with 0 and let's cut it here. Let's paste it. Okay, right now I start from 0 and I will increase before I add it. Why I did do that? Because I don't want to change after I add the element to the sum. I don't want I to change after I add the ith element of array to the sum. So right now I don't need to see the sum because I know sum will be greater than 2000. I wonder that how many elements do I need from the beginning to reach 2000. So I can print out or I can echo the I. I will remove the breakpoint from here, or I can let it, doesn't matter right now. Now let's run it. It says 19 element from the beginning of that array is enough, are enough to reach 2000. What is the 18th element? If you look here, sum is 3958. I think the 19th element is here, 3334 and 3334. If you can count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19. Okay, as you can see, if you don't know your code block, how many times will your code block run, you can use while loop, because in while loop you don't use any array or any indices, something like that. But in for loop you need to know that how many times the code block will run. And there are some keywords to use in the loops. Let's see what are they. And first of them is break. Let's say I want that loop work forever. Then I can write here true. While true means that loop will be executed forever. If I click run, it throws an error. The reason of error is this: I is exceeded the length of array, and the array I can't reach. For example, let's say if here is 20, let's say I is 21. Right now I is 28. In here we have 27 element and I is 28. In here, if you try to reach the 28 element of array, it will throw an exception. And also it was saying that it must not exceed 27 in here. So we need to stop it. We need to stop this endless loop. But how? After the sum, I can check the sum. Is sum exceed the 2000 or not? If sum is greater than or equal 2000, then we can finish the loop. We can break the loop. We can use break keyword in here and add the end keyword to complete the if statement. Right now, this loop is not gonna work forever. It will stop somewhere. It will be stopped somewhere. But where? In here with a break keyword. Let's run it. As you can see, it's run until the 19 index. After that, sum passed the 2000, then it checked the sum in here, and sum was greater than or equal to 2000, which is 3958 is greater than 2000, then it says let's break the loop, and it leaves the loop. And you can use this break keyword in for loop too. Right now I don't show it, but you can try your own. And let's create an array which is let's create an array, and the array will have the numbers can be divided by 7. Then let's create an empty array in here. Let's change our program. Let's delete in here too. Let's delete them too. Okay, let's create a for loop. I want to get the numbers which can be divided by 7 between 1 and 100. So I can create a for loop for this. For I equal to 1 to 100. Let's complete the for loop. Okay, now I need to check I can be divided by 7 or not. To do that, I can use mod operator, mod function of Matlab. Mod is the built-in function. Okay, if mod I, 7, that means, let's check it in the command window. If I write mod 50, 7, it will return the remaining value after the division by 7. Right now, when you divide 50 by 7, you will get 7 point blah blah blah. But in here, in module, you will get the remaining value of the 50 after division by 7. And if you use 9, if we give 9 mod 7, it will return true. Why? In 9 we have 1 7. After the subtraction of 7, we will have 2 in there. And if you use 7 in here, the module will be 0. That means 7 is divisible by 7 with no floating point. Okay, then if I is divisible by 7, then this function will return a 0, and 0 means false, if you remember. Then I need to use a not operator in here, which is tilde. If not module I and 7, that means if I is divisible by 7, it will return 0. And if you get not of that 0, it will return true. And if here is true, I need to add I into my array. Then my array is arr equals, I can add to my array arr. If you remember, I can merge arrays matrices like that, and I here. I will use the semicolon and I will end my if condition with and keyword. Okay, right now let's run it, and after the for loop let's print the array in the command window. Let's run it. You will see that an array which numbers can be divided by 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56 until 98. Why? Because I said that this for loop will work until 100. And if that variable I can be divisible by 7, then I need to add that I into my array. So I have all the numbers can be divisible by 7. Can be divided by 7 without a floating point. And if I use another method to do this, I can use another keyword which is continue. Let's see what is it. I will delete all of them in here. Now I will write that array equals array and I. Now I is added to array in this line, but I don't want to run this line in each time of that for loop. I want to skip some steps of that for loop. So I need to use continue keyword. But when I'm trying to find the numbers with divisible by 7, so that means I only want in that array the numbers can be divided by 7. So if mod I and 7 if mod I and 7, if this mod if I can be divisible by 7, then the mod function will return 0, and after returning 0 I can add this function. Otherwise I need to stop to adding, so I can use continue keyword in here and I can complete the if statement. If I is not divisible by 7, and the mod function will return a non-zero element. And if you remember that a logical any non-zero element, let's say 5, is a logical 1, that means true. And if I is if I cannot be divisible by 7, then here will be true, and if it's not divisible by 7, then I will prevent to add to my array by writing a continue keyword. Continue keyword will prevent to execute the rest of the loop. Let's say how it's happened. Let's put a breakpoint in here and let's run it. Right now, as you can see, I is started from 1. You can see in the workspace. After I click step, the mode is calculated and mode was 1. Let's check it. Mode 1 and 7 will be 1, and its logical variable is true, and right now that means I cannot be divisible by 7, so it will execute inside of the if statement. And in that if statement, if you see that, I will click step right now, it will jump to the if. Why? Because it didn't execute the 7th column. If I continue to click step, right now if I is 2 is not divisible, 3 is not divisible, 4 is not divisible, 5 is not divisible, 6 is not divisible, and right now I have 7. In here 7 is divisible by 7, so the module function will return a 0, so the if statement doesn't work. It will jump to the end. Did you see? It jumped to continue line. It will not execute the continue line, and right now it will be added to my array. As you can see, right now I is 12, 13, and after 14 the continue will not be executed, and the 14 will be added to array, and my loop will be continued. And I removing my breakpoint and I click continue, it will finish to execute. As you can see, right now I have same numbers again, but this time we used a different way. We used a continue keyword. The continue keyword makes skip some steps of the loop. And this is the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.